Hello everybody, Damascus Fox here, and today I will be reviewing the Gerber Sumo. This is the one with the acid stone wash. There is a one with just a stone wash, and this is the gray, black, black, gray, and red G10. There is the other one is black white with, I think it was, how did you pronounce it again? It was I think it was cyan color, which is also pretty cool. But I will be reviewing this, and let's first start off before I start blabbing about my opinions. Start off with specs. I'm still recovering from a cold, so I will be coughing periodically, but I feel much better than I did a few days ago. I was so out of it, I couldn't do this review. This was actually supposed to come out last week, but I couldn't do the review because I couldn't think. So this guy, overall length, coming in around, I think just a little under 9 inches. That's pretty cool. And blade length, overall blade length is coming in about 4 inches, and cutting edge is about I'll say 3.75. I'll give it that, 3.75. Let's go with that. All right, weight on this guy. Let's fold him up. Bring my scale right over yonder. All right, are we on ounces? We're on ounces. Boom. This guy comes in at 5.23. So not the lightest knife, but not the heaviest. Be done with you. Size comparison. Starting off with everyone's favorite, pair of 3, and Spyderco Tenacious. I don't care what people say, it's a great budget knife, and yeah, it's pricey, but it's a great Spyderco entry knife. If you're skeptical on Spydercos, this is a great way to go, because you don't break the bank and you get to kind of understand what Spyderco is all about. And Spyderco is all about these holes in the top and great ergonomics. Very comfortable. Yeah. Well, at least on most of the knives that I've seen, they do have extremely weird models that may not be as comfortable as these two. But I digress. Back to size comparison. Okay, yes. So the Sumo is actually quite a big boy. Handle length is actually quite longer than the Tenacious, which is actually pretty surprising, actually. Tenacious, I always thought was kind of a bigger knife. And the blade length is it actually dwarfs the pair of 3. So that's pretty interesting. Next up, CJRB Feldspar, full size. CJRB Feldspar, small. And the Sumo is bigger than the Feldspar, both of them, by quite a bit, actually. I would say that looks like maybe a quarter of an inch. I'm not too good with measurements, but I've been practicing. Next up, Wheat Banter and Benchmade Super Freak, and it's actually bigger than the Freak. That's actually quite surprising. It's actually quite chunky compared to the Freak in blade. A little thinner back here, but that's actually quite surprising. And I always found that kind of funny, when I first got the Sumo. I got the Sumo after I got this guy, and I loved this guy right here. Look at those just beautiful red accents and all this color. M4 steel. Oh, this knife just makes me So happy. But then I got the Sumo, and I was looking at it, and I was like, there's something about this that I like, and I was like, oh, I don't know. Quite similar. Yeah, just thought that was kind of interesting. Somebody liked somebody's design. All right, next up, Cold Steel Spada Medium, Cold Steel Spada XL. Dust is the bane of my existence. I have a lot of knives. It would take me all day if I had to dust them every single day. But I freaking hate dust. There you go. What are you still doing here, Banter? Get over here. That cough, man. Alright. So, yeah. So the Sumo is actually larger than the medium Spada, but barely. But obviously the XL. I mean, this I'll be hard pressed to find anything folding knife larger than that, but whatever. I just like to do that for the lulz. Okay. So now size comparison is out of the way. Let's do height. Height on this guy compared to this guy. A pair of 3 in my tenacious. All right. Yes, as you can see, right there, it actually, the pair of 3 still runs a little bit high in your pocket, but it's like barely that much. So this guy is actually kind of a high knife in your pocket. So height on this guy is actually quite similar to the tenacious. So if you're used to the tenacious, it's actually going to be quite similar. But you will have to put a little bit more pocket real estate towards this guy, since it is quite a larger knife. Quite a bit. Width. Let's do this guy. Width. Right there. If you could see that. Let's see. Is my light kind of wonky? Yeah. I think that looks a little bit better. Okay, width on this guy, if you could see. Autofocus. Come on, focus. Let's try that. There we go. The thickness is pretty much similar. I think the Sumo is just barely a little bit thicker. Also because of these, the pivot lock buttons do bring it out a little bit. And yeah, so pretty similar. Just this guy's a little bit thicker, just a tad bit. Blade thickness. They're both full flat grind, so the blade thickness is pretty good. Not too thick on the spine. So it's pretty interesting. Price on this guy. I forgot the price on this guy, but I believe it was around $38 to like $40, somewhere around there. So not too bad of a price. It is a budget knife. I'm okay with the price. It's fine. So, yeah. Next up will be the cut test. I apologize that I forgot to memorize the price on this guy. That was the one thing I forgot. But yeah, it's definitely it's somewhere around 40 to like 30 something, I believe. Somewhere around there. Now, time for the cut test. Oh, hit my camera. The brace fell off. Gotta lock that down. There we go. that better? Okay, sorry about that. Cut tester. That was such a goof. So it's actually pretty slicey. I wouldn't say phenomenal, like some high performance knives that I have. But it will cut. See how it does when I do it. Yeah, it cut pretty well. Yeah. It's probably due because the spine is, it's pretty thick, and it does go down and to a, it's not too thick behind the edge, but it's not the sharpest. But you could probably put, this is factory edge, so you could probably put a better edge on yourself. I doubt that they really did a, phenomenal sharpening job. But whatever, it still cuts, it's still good. I will give that a pass. Does not upset me at all. It's actually not bad. Now, time for me to talk about this knife, my personal opinions and whatnot. So far, the steel on this guy is 7CR17 MOV. And what does that mean? Well, 7CR, if you're not familiar with it, it's a Chinese stainless steel. It is a modified version of 440A, which is a Japanese steel. If you're familiar with that one, 7CR is modified with a little extra bit of vanadium in it to add extra toughness and wear resistance. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So it's similar to that steel. This steel can reach a hardness of actually 60 HRC on the Rockwell Harding hardness scale, so that's actually pretty interesting. But the best thing about this steel is that it's easy to sharpen, and it has high corrosion and wear resistance. So that's pretty much it. They said that it has decent edge, it has decent edge retention, but you are still going to have to sharpen it quite often, but at least it's easy to sharpen. So that's always the drawback with these budget steels. And a benefit, easy to sharpen, have to sharpen it often. Or you get a high-end steel, and it's hard to sharpen, but you don't have to sharpen it often. That's usually kind of the way it goes with a lot of these steels that I noticed in my personal experience. I'm not sure about yours. And yeah, so, and it's also good steel for people that are starting off on sharpening, people who don't have much experience in sharpening. So it would be easy for you to hone your skill sharpening something that's easy to sharpen, and you can sharpen it quickly. Even though you have to do it pretty often, but at least you'll be able to do it quickly. So that's pretty cool. So that's nice about this guy. It uses the pivot lock, which is basically the axis lock from Benchmade, but Gerber's version, which is pretty interesting. It's actually very good. Just a personal, beef of mine with this knife. It's like I actually do like this knife. It actually feels it's actually very comfortable in hand. It feels very comfortable. I like it because they rounded, they chamfered all these corners right here. It's all rounded. It's very nice, very ergonomically friendly, designed straight lines. It's just very comfortable. The pocket clip doesn't get in the way of your hand. Very comfortable. I really like the way how this guy feels. It feels really good with the disengagement, but deploying it is a little bit, you have to get used to it. This is one of those knives where I'm not sure how you feel if you have this knife and you're like, oh, it's super easy for me. But for me, I had to get used to this thumb hole. I think it probably would have been better maybe with a thumb stud or something like that, or maybe bring this hole. I know it might have added a structural weakness if this was cut out a little bit more, but they should have brought this hole up, I think, just a tad bit. It kind of runs a little bit deep, so you have to kind of jam your thumb in there and pull it out, and you have to get your fingers up all in this crunched up position to do that. But once you get used to it, it's really no problem. It just took me a while to get used to it. You can reverse flick it. It requires some wrist. You can, get your finger in there and flick it like that, but the tension on this to the tang makes it only fly out like that, so you have to use a little bit of wrist to get that thing out of there with a reverse flick, but it can be done. Unless, of course, you have strong middle finger. My fingers tend to be quite weak. I have dexterity issues in my hands. So I don't have the most strength in there, so if you have a strong ring finger, you probably could get that out without some wrist. But me, I require wrist. You can flick it out with your thumb, but it also requires wrist just because of that tang being so tight. The lock being tight on the tang. So it's kind of best to just do it like that if you just want to do a control open. So yeah, that's just one beef I have. It is not deep carry, if anybody was wondering. It runs around there, like that. So you will have this little nub sticking out of your pocket. I mean, it doesn't really bother me that much. The thing that does bother me about this pocket clip is its retention is quite weak. You could pull that up really high. It doesn't feel very secure in my pocket. It does feel like it's going in and out like this. But I mean, my pocket seam at home is pretty thin, so maybe that's the problem. Maybe this might work better with like cargo pants with a thicker pocket seam, so that might work better. But at least it's very long. It's a long pocket clip, so it does grip your pants, I would say, pretty good, because it does have a lot more, what's the word? Grip. It grabs a lot more. It just feels a little bit like the retention could have been better. It feels like it grips your pants very lightly, which I'm not a fan of, because I always feel like I'm going to lose my knife if I do any sudden movements. The lanyard hole right here it's kind of out of the way. It's just right back here. It's a little tiny little slit right there. Might be a little difficult to get certain length of paracord through there, but you probably could be able to do that. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, but otherwise, I do like the way how this feels. They did really good on the pivot lock, in my opinion. It goes in and out very smoothly, and it is somewhat drop shut. Not the droppiest, but it works pretty well in my opinion. I don't get too much of that bounce that I do get with a lot of locks like this. So it does tend to grab it pretty cool. Now, I found this kind of funny. It's not really that big of a deal. I just found this kind of funny. When you move this lock in the closed position, you can see the knife slightly moved out. So if you hold the spine like that, you can't move this lock down. You can't move it. Now I can. Now I can't. Pretty weird. I don't know. I found that funny. And the weird part is also it doesn't fully go all the way to the pivot lock doesn't go all the way to the front in the engaged position, but it does in the disengaged. So that might be because the tang of the blade might be a little bit thicker right here, so it doesn't go all the way up. So maybe over time it might wear and then move up. I'm not really sure about that, if that was a design flaw or if it was meant to do that. Just thought I'll point that out. That it's kind of an interesting thing about this knife. And it also, right there is the stop pin. It does not shoulder it. It just flatly, boom, goes right onto it. So that's pretty interesting. And I think I already mentioned that it is a acid stonewash, which looks really nice. Look at that. Yeah. And it has, let's see, there not really any skeletonization of the liners besides just the holes for the springs and the lanyard hole. But otherwise, I like this knife. I think for the money, it's fine. I think it's pretty good. If you buy this knife and you love it, then continue to love it. If you don't like it, then, yeah, that's your opinion. Me, I actually like this knife. I think it's actually pretty good. The steel is okay, but at least, for the money, I think it would be fine. It's very comfortable, and I like fiddling with it, and finally figuring out how to use this hole effectively and comfortably. So yeah, that's pretty good. So otherwise, I think I like this knife. I can recommend it to somebody who's in the budget field who wants a decent hard steel. It's actually a pretty hard steel to its composition, so it's actually pretty cool. I can recommend it. I was like, you want a pivot lock for not much money, and a okay steel, and you don't mind sharpening every other day if you're using it for hard use, but if you're using it for mild use, then you probably don't have to sharpen it that often. And yeah, so I say this is a pretty cool knife. I like it. So that's my review on it. I hope you enjoyed that. Camera, I think, ended up being crooked after I fiddled with it. There we go. That's better. All right. Well, so that's my review on the Gerber Sumo. I actually like this knife. Got a little bit of flaws. Not the greatest steel in the world. Price is okay, and it's got nice pivot lock that actually works very well. Feels very durable, very comfortable. I like it. So, yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you liked this video. If you like more knife and EDC related content, check out my other videos. And remember to subscribe, because I post videos every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And be more knives and more videos in the future. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye.